Bearded Bros Golf Show, back at it again. Our second live for the week. I am Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
Yeah, we had to do an emergency therapy session. I was struggling after all the John Rom stuff. Hold on, real quick. There we go. To break my mic. Yeah, emergency session earlier in the week. Struggling with the John Rom decision and the chaos that came from that, and just had to get it off our chest. So we had a nice long session earlier. Speaking of current events, I don't want to hold this on too long, but we're gonna get our topics in. We have the Eagles and Cowboys coming up here in a few minutes, so our hometown Cowboys hopefully can show some gumption and you know win
Just show up at
something,
the crib
win
for
something.
once. Yeah.
Just one, just one, just one. Big game here at home, so we'll see what they're made of. Let's get into our topics. I want to get the pro golf stuff out of the way so we can kind of talk on our main thing. So we're not going to fully rehash any of the John Rahm stuff. We've talked about that. Check the last live stream for our full comments on the ball rollback, which became
Yep.
official this week, as well as the John Rahm defection to Live Golf. Again, we're not going to rehash that. You've heard that from us before, and it's documented. So you can go check that one out. I think it was a really good stream. Um, but I think one of the things that, we touched on there, just talking about it's a bubble financially, that golf is continuously proven that it's a niche sport. We've kind of
Yeah.
always known that. I mean, when you look at the grander landscape of sports, basketball, pro football, baseball, even,
Yeah.
golf, even with all the drama, only really commands headlines the day of something happening, and then it slowly fades into the background, just kind of scrolling through the ESPN page, live page. There's no mention of golf anymore. I mean, you had the
Yeah.
John Rahm stuff, and then now it's gone. My concern is that golf doesn't realize that the crap that they have going on now is kind of like cutting your, nose off to spite your face. That there's only so much of an audience out here for the professional game of golf, and when you alienate fans and split the your attention, you risk losing out on all the money that you're throwing at people going away. So you look at less attention. That means less sponsorships. I didn't even put this in the show notes, but shout out to Wells Fargo for dropping their sponsorship after next year of their, tournament at that they
Quail
have
Hollow.
every year for the last well hollow. Thank you, sir, for the last 20 some odd years, and that sponsorship is dropping. We've always known it as a Wells Fargo. So what do you
Yeah.
think about this, man? And kind of again the self inflicted wounds that they're dosing out to themselves.
I mean, hopefully they're trying to set themselves up for a bigger plan, something we don't see. I mean, but otherwise it just looks like they're trying to nail. I mean, I don't know. Like it just looks bad all the way around if it's not for what. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the PGA is doing right now. I really don't. I don't have a
Huh?
rebuttal.
And I won't even call it just the PGA. I mean, Live, they think they are winning in the short term, but I mean, there's only so many. I mean, we've talked about it. This is the one thing that I'll mention from the other day is that the other stars that have gone over to Live haven't driven the needle to their
Right. They
product.
lost viewership as well. Yeah, no, 100%.
So John Rahm may, you're going to get some curiosity in the first handful of tournaments, but bro, it's not sustainable. I mean, if people have to work to find their entertainment, they're not going to do it. It's got to be
Yeah.
right in front of them. It's not featured on any CW is not featured on any main page of any YouTube TV, your cable, subscription. It's not going to come up as featured content. So if somebody's got to go put in, any kind of effort to locate where you're at, find out when tournaments are. Again, we talk about the infrequency, 14 tournaments a year. So what are we talking about? Is that 1/4 of the year theoretically? A little bit
Yeah.
more than that, where I'm having to search out when you're actually playing, versus current PGA Tour schedule. You can go find that pretty much every week. So,
Yeah.
man, I don't know. I just hate seeing the sport that we love kind of sabotage itself and cannibalize itself. It's like, hey, man, don't eat your own young. Let them
Yeah.
live. So anyway, I don't want to. I'm getting depressed again talking about how bad it is. So next kind of big topic that came up later on in the week. Let me share my screen for this one. Our boy Rory. I'll tease it here and just say I thought he was getting soft when after the Rum defection he mentioned you know changing the rules to the Ryder Cup, which is two
Yeah.
years out to accommodate Rom. I was like, oh boy, Roy's getting soft on us. And then like the next day, he comes out with the fire. Let me pull this up. Just responding to a tweet from Lou Stagner Golf. So, so SI Golf, talks about the Rory deal. Lou Stagner comes back with, I wonder if Rory wants to change the rules so Stinson can captain the team. And he said, hey, Rory in the chat it says the best thing to happen to the 2023 Euro Ryder Cup team was Henrik going to live, which disqualified him as being the captain. What do you think about that, man? Getting a little saucy.
I mean, Roy never holds his tongue, so I mean, it holds true. He ain't lying. Luke Donald led him to a W, a dominant dub. So, I mean, obviously the right thing happened, and Hendrick needs to just ride off into the sunset. My boy's not welcome back. Poor
Yeah,
guy.
pretty much. I know. I mean, it probably says something, about where Henrik kind of sits in the golf world and with his fellow competitors. Some
Public
people,
opinion.
yeah, some people are good in the team room
Yeah,
and kind of endear themselves to people. I think we saw that and had an underrated sense of that with Luke Donald. Apparently, clearly Luke Donald has, forged relationships with these players, and maybe I'm misreading that. Maybe Rory could have had an additional call out to how well Luke Donald captained that team, but. I mean, for him
yeah,
to just flat out say that Henrik Stenson's the best thing, him not being a part of it was the best thing. There could have been some bad blood that's cropped up from years past, where maybe
yeah,
Henrik's a bit selfish in that team room. Who the heck knows? But good on Rory for not losing himself. I think he shows. It's interesting. I think we get a full view of Rory at this point. You're getting to see the ups, the downs, his compassionate side, where he clearly has a soft spot for John Rahm, and maybe what he's been experiencing in terms of not being able to take advantage of all the you know he's going to take advantage of it now, but
yeah,
hadn't been included in all the PGA Tour dynasty, and he wasn't in the club. It seemed like, while a great player, didn't seem like he had a voice. So it's just interesting seeing the full version of Rory,
yeah.
and I think we've been seeing a lot of his emotions this year. What do you think?
I think so too. And I was just thinking about it now, and it's funny because the way Rory sticks his neck out, like it's just like something in me thinks that Rom has somehow still found a way to get some equity into the PGA as well. So like just like in the underwritings or under in the behind the scene things, like just how crazy would that be if it came out that Rom still had stake in PGA despite getting this three 300 $400 million deal to live. Like that's just the grimy things that I think is going to start happening. So
Well,
I know
yeah.
that's a bit off kilter, a bit random, but like that's the type of shit that I think's about to start happening.
Well, I think there's still discussions. I think I just saw a story earlier. I want to see if I can pull it up. It was about um, PGA Tour. It was officially from the PGA Tour saying that they were going to continue conversations with one of these investment firms, these PE
Yeah,
firms that are still out there, as well as continue their conversations with the Saudi PIF. So I mean, it's not unheard of that people can hedge and have their skin in both sides of it and say, hey, well, if a deal comes together, pencil me in for that, and instead of having to go back and rewrite some of these deals. And at this point,
Yeah,
I think the PGA Tour has to be scrambling and trying to figure out answers to how things are going to be going forward and how they're going to hold things together. Yeah, I saw it retweeted, I think, on Instagram. So we'll probably talk about that as more develops from that. And we
yeah,
have some crucial conversations happening this week on, I think it's Friday, that Jay Monahan's talking to Yasser from the Saudi PIF. So I'm sure there will be hopefully some news coming out from that, even though they have been pretty quiet after any meetings. But essentially, I think they've really, all this has been is um, an agreement to keep talking. That's all the framework agreement was. Even though ESPN Caddy isn't, I don't know, he's not been bringing content that I've loved as of late. I think he had a really good description on Instagram, just talking about how really the framework agreement was just a peace talk, and I think we
yeah.
kind of touched on that earlier in the week, where it's like, hey, this is really not a peace talk, a ceasefire. You stop shooting at us, we're gonna stop shooting at you. We'll try to be quiet. I think the one thing that honestly tanked this and could have helped kind of save the situation is the non-recruitment clause. They weren't able to put that in, which allowed Liv to keep trying to pursue PGA Tour players. There was an antitrust element to that, and so we're seeing the fruition of that with John Rum. And then now, one of the other show notes that we have is rumored that Tony Finau is in talks with Liv. He hadn't quite denied it, just said something to the effect of "No, not yet." That's the kind of language we've been hearing for guys that have eventually gone over, which is a bit worrisome. Watching the tail end of the Grant Thornton today, it was interesting that they featured him in ads talking about next year. Which I don't know, that made me nervous. What do you think about the place that the PGA Tour is in? Still having to promote the Century, which is coming up in a few weeks here, and having folks on the line that might end up leaving in the next 3 weeks. How strange do you think that is?
I mean, it's not strange. I mean, soon as the deal, like as soon as they started trying to make conversation between Liv and PGA, TaylorMade started posting Dustin Johnson videos and reels and stuff again immediately on their social media. So people gonna do janky stuff regardless. I mean, that's just the name of the game now at this point. So I'm not really surprised at all. I mean, and they still want their forerunners still out there, putting ads out there and making PGA look cool for the time being until the it's solidified or cemented that he is leaving. I mean, but that I wouldn't put it past them. I absolutely wouldn't put it past them to continue to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the money's too alluring, and while it's available, go get it. We'll see if more comes out. We mentioned that case that's pending. I know you said that it's more on the shady side against Tony Finau, but I don't know. You just never know what kind of money pressures and how people manage their finances in the background, and there maybe need to go accept these kind of guaranteed dividends for their play. So.
Yeah,
Another one that's mentioned along with that is Terrell Haddon. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't think anybody's butt hurt about Terrell Haddon. He's entertaining to watch. I love his game, honestly. Highly talented gentleman, but doesn't
easily
move the needle at
forgettable.
all. Yeah, we know Terrell Haddon, but you're if Terrell Haddon walked up to you on the street, you wouldn't know who he is. He's a 5'10", probably
No,
partially
5'4".
balding dude. He's 5'4". Shut up.
Yeah, I mean
But
you literally
yeah,
walk
he's
right by him.
he's a regular dude, and unless you watch golf, you don't know who the heck it is. So we'll see how things go there, and keep react as necessary. Um, Last one thing that I want to talk about that's PGA related, and the biggest boil on the block is there's some rumors, nothing substantiated as of yet, with a possible end to the Nike relationship with Tiger Woods, and then also possibly Nike transitioning away from their golf division in 2024. I mean, we are Nike through and through. Clearly, as you can tell with me, I love Nike. It's just a brand that we grew up on in our household. Something that our mother always purchased for us, just as a quality product. Um, and clearly with the connection to Tiger Woods, it's been something that's always been ingrained in us. And the
Yeah.
majority of my shoes, golf shoes, casual
Nike golf
athletic stuff,
balls,
yeah,
clubs,
all that.
gloves. We've touched it all.
Yeah. So the rumors are that he could go over to TaylorMade and they're developing their apparel division. They had previously kind of been tandemed up with Adidas, which that partnership is not the same that it always has been. You always saw TaylorMade, you know, golfers with Adidas apparel,
Yeah.
as you see with Titleist and FootJoy. What do you think about the Nike partnership possibly coming to an end for Tiger at this stage of his career?
Didn't see that happening. I definitely thought he was going to be a Nike lifer. But I mean, it's believable now though, because I mean, we're not saying we're having difficulties in personally as like a merchandiser for my golf shop, but they have transitioned into a different marketing team. They have transferred into a different way of selling us products, so they're pretty much all online based. There's no more in-person meeting as far as like next season's lines and things like that. Like we just don't know. So it's kind of like they're all putting the onus on us to go online to look through their lookbook and see what we would like to pick out and have in the shop. Very, and for us, something that's like what we see as very impersonal, something that we see as like something that, we'd rather see it in person so that we can see, oh, if this looks nice to us in person, how it would look to another customer, because at the end of the day, we're still shopping for customers. We want to go with what's going to go out of the shop. We don't want things to linger in the shop and say, "Oh, that looks cool." We want you to think, "Oh, that's dope. I need that right now." So with that changing up, I definitely see that going somewhere like that. So with them transitioning out, and you seeing him in those FootJoy premieres pretty much all week long at the Hero World Challenge, it's pretty much said without saying that it's going to happen. And I think, the Tiger Woods line can transfer somewhere else. He probably can take his likeness and patent TW wherever it may go. I don't think
Yeah.
Nike has that much of a hold on his TW logo. So I think that can go somewhere. And, who knows? Maybe he's not a TaylorMade lifer. Maybe he goes to Titleist products through and through and keeps that partnership, just like you said. FootJoy and Titleist go hand in hand. Or maybe he finds a way to just have FootJoy as his shoe sponsorship, and then gets a different apparel deal somewhere where just like you said, he can have that TW logo, or maybe through TaylorMade or however it may be. But yeah, I mean, you can go all the way back to sorry ass Sergio Garcia wearing Adidas and being tailor made, and the R7 line and R9, and then DJ with the R11 and his big old Adidas boots, golf shoes that he used to have. Then the Adidas boots. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff is like, it keeps
Yeah. I
going,
mean,
but things in.
no, that's good
We see it.
insight on your part in terms of how Nike is marketing the golf side, and really it not being, you don't see the Nike commercials as much as you used to in terms of featuring athletes. And
Right.
again, we're aware of all the Nike golf athletes, a Finau, Jason Day, Scotty Scheffler, all these name guys that we're fully aware of, but you
Yeah.
don't see Nike running commercials and ads. I mean, they've pretty much killed their golf. Even social media is really not out there. So it's very interesting that they've probably started segueing away. I will say, when you mentioned the TW logo, Nike's big on retros. You know that.
Yeah.
Even from the basketball side of things. So I don't think they're gonna easily give up trademark for the TW logo. They can easily 10 years from now keep dropping TW13s and bringing in revenue as long as they want to. Just when they feel
True.
like, hey, let's get an extra little couple mil in the bank account. Let's drop some TW, retros. Which that's the most popular. They most recently dropped the Masters version. So we'll see how that part of it goes, and if there's any merit to it. Like you said, he's been wearing these FootJoys. Looked like he was in a prototype of some sort at the Hero World Challenge a couple weeks ago. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, and if FootJoy is working on something for him or another brand. It was a pretty much like I don't know how they call it, like a it was a blank. There were no logos. It was just a shoe cut out. He only wore practice rounds, but not wear it during the tournament. So we'll see where that one goes. But if it's an end of an era, it's going to be a sad one. And I think it just kind of goes back to point number one. Um, with the disinvestment in golf at the height of the sport, you have all this tension, and I think sponsors are kind of like, "Hey, man, this shit is getting old, and I don't know if we're still willing to spend our dollars here with y'all breaking apart and some of the players over here and some of them over here." I just don't think it's a lucrative business model for either side of the equation. So we'll get off that stuff. The Grant Thornton. I'm not. Let me mention something else before I move to the Grant Thornton. The champion world championship with the champions players. Did you catch any of that? I'm gonna be honest, man. I only watched a handful of holes from that. I did not. It did not. It did not grab me. I tried to watch it on the first day. It just didn't grab me.
Still trying to figure out what channel it was on.
Actually, Golf Channel gave it a pretty good run, and so
It
they
did.
actually and they were on ESPN too. Not ESPN, but the ESPN app. I thought that was kind of nuts that they were giving it that much run. So I think you probably answered my question. I like I said, I think it came down to a pretty competitive finish from what I saw. I
Okay.
think the Americans squeaked it out over the international squad, and the Europeans were third in the competition. So I didn't love it. I enjoy champions golf, but not the team event. And I think that
Okay.
also kind of speaks to why team golf is a specialty thing. There's no team event better than the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Week to week, team event. So I will say on the Grant Thornton side, transitioning over to that was actually entertaining to me, and I thought it was
It was good.
cool the way they marketed it, and had the interviews with the PGA, LPGA players, and the camaraderie. A lot of them had not really interacted with each other, and forgive me for not knowing this or really talking about it before, but this event has existed. I don't think it's been as big. I think it was previously named the QBE Shootout, which was actually a tournament that Greg Norman founded. So clearly the PGA Tour was in, no, you know, ready to segue away from anything directly connected to Greg Norman at this stage. So, rebranded as a Grant Thornton. I think it was a really good event. The prize pool, for the champs was $1 million, 500K split between the man and the woman. So I thought that was a really good deal. What did you think about that one?
It was good. I mean, anytime you get to see just like a partnership like that, it was good. I I felt like I felt like it would have got boring watching four ball or scramble the whole time, but I think that's what really was drawing my attention. Like the second day when everybody was struggling, it was like, oh, yeah, like this is real golf. Like, yeah, we know it's real golf. This is a team competition. We want to see how low they can go. So modified four ball was good. Think they should have did it like kind of like that. Think they should have did scramble, modified four ball, scramble type deal. Just see how crazy low they could go. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
really wants to see the 55, the 56, or the 57 or whatever. That felt like a lot more fun to me. And again, it was like the commentators actually did a good job of noticing it. It's like when you're on the green, when you're on the around the short game and stuff like that, like this is where varying ideas, conflict here. Cause like, somebody might want to play it a certain way and then you see it this way. So then now you have to worry about what's the next technique. Like, well, what kind of putt do you want? Do you want the downhill putt? Do you want an uphill putt? And then you got to match pace because you know how it goes. Some people put dying it in the hole. Some people put with pace 2 or 3 feet by because they don't mind the comeback. Who's
Yeah.
really comfortable with that? So like things like that, like that's what really you saw a lot on that second day. And I don't know if people really wanted to see that on live TV.
That kind of that
So
grind. Yeah. Yeah.
right. It
That could
really
be a little
slowed
bit
things
tough.
down.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
Especially
clearly
for
with the scores.
yeah. Yeah, you saw him go super low on day one.
Yeah.
Um super low. Those scores you were like, "Damn. I mean, we're already at 15, 16 under."
Yeah.
Um and then yeah, like you said, it ended up I think they closed it out today at 26 or 27 under. So yeah, I thought it was a good format. I think they'll keep playing with that and try to
Yeah.
keep it as fun as possible. I thought the LPGA finally did a really good job of marketing its stars. They were really active on Instagram this weekend. You know, again, the interviews post round were really good. Always featured both players. I
Definitely.
laughed seeing Ricky Fowler get towered over by Lexi Thompson. That was funny to me. And while calling grown women girls while he's being towered over by Lexi Thompson, I was like, okay, bro, you might get beat up talking
Right.
greasy
Truly.
about women that way. But I thought overall it was a good success, a good way to kind of again the cloud of live kind of hovering over the entire event as well. Them having to answer questions about it, it's just kind of ever present in the swing of things. It was good
Yeah.
to see Lydia Ko playing well again, as well as Jason Day. With them winning the competition, they look like they had a really good time together, and just also good to see talented players get their games back and be healthy, and just really look like they're having fun playing the game of golf. And kind of, nothing again tops the Ryder Cup, but seeing some passion and seeing people cheer for each other when they hit a good shot is kind of refreshing. So
Yeah.
shout out to them
Definitely.
for putting on a really decent event. Um, so yeah, this week we have the PNC coming up, so looking forward to that. It's kind of the same old matchups that we've always had, so we'll see how that plays this week. So moving on to our lead topic is amateur golf, and I think for us, after seeing just the tumult in pro golf, that I think focusing on the thing that people care about and what got me thinking about this topic is playing with my buddies yesterday. It was 14 of us, um, you know four different groups. Played a round of golf. It's tough and windy, getting into some winter weather. Although the day was pretty and sunny, nobody mentioned professional golf at all. It just didn't even come up. And, I think, even sitting there drinking beer for another hour or two after the round, it never came up. We're talking about life. We're talking about our own games and all the BS that centered around the pro game didn't even come into anybody's consciousness. And I was just shutting up, seeing if it would. Nobody else brought it up. So, what do you think about that aspect of it? That there's just two big segments to golf. There's pro golf and then everything else. Do you think that if pro golf starts to struggle, that the popularity of golf that you and I play, and we have to take ourselves out of our bubble, will fall off? What do you think about that aspect of it?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I guess who cares? Because I feel like the people that find golf are gonna find golf, and they're gonna if they're gonna like it, they're gonna stick to it anyways. That's what a good thing. I mean, like to me, that's what golf is. It's very magnetizing. Like it's hard to stay away from it. So like
Hmm.
if you're gonna catch the bug, and then if you're at any kind of competitive athlete, and you like not necessarily dominating things, but you always want to finish on the top. You always want to see how good you can get at something. It's the perfect sport for you. So I don't think amongst common athletes it'll fall off, but amongst commoners and people looking for something to do that's active and outdoors, probably. I feel like I
Like your
mean, but
casuals.
yeah, with your casuals. But I mean, that's fine. They have pickleball and they have the little hacky sack that they hit into the trampoline, and the fake athletic stuff. So again,
Bro, pickleball's going crazy. Pickleball's going crazy
I
right
still
now.
don't get it. I don't like it. It's like, I mean, again, I mean, like I told you when we first brought it up, bro. Like one of the few times I saw it, some person got a penalty for being too aggressive with the hit. Like, it's a sport you're supposed to try to dominate and beat somebody in, and they're mad that
Right.
they're like hitting it too hard. Miss me with that. So again, back to the point. I feel like, and then I think it's a good thing for you and your group. I mean, just like amongst us, like I feel like your group is just like the homies. Like they're literally just like, yo, like my boy's playing. He got me into the game. So like, that's how we bond besides drinking and like partying and like family. Like this is the things we do to get out. So
Yeah.
like,
That's what we're
cause
talking about, man. It was like, how was, you're talking about your game for that day. We wrapped up our regular season yesterday. And so that was the conversation. Like, how did you play? Just talking about
yeah,
our games, how people, came into the group. So just some like minor stats. We've played 35 rounds competitively and kind of log their results. That doesn't include casual rounds where we've just done straight skins that didn't necessarily count or weekday rounds. I think at this point I've probably played 70 some odd rounds this year, somewhere around there. Maybe a
hmm
little bit more. Could have touched into the 80s. And, we were just talking about it overall and just how much, again, like you said, the competitiveness and getting better. And we talk about where our handicaps started out and where they, currently sit, different things like that. And, so it's just like you said, it's the homies. It's just dudes hanging out, not worried about that other side of golf. It didn't
yeah,
even come into anybody's consciousness. So I agree. I think the casuals get brought in by the popularity of the game because it's FOMO, right? No one wants their boys that go, started going out every weekend during the summer to play golf and miss out on that. People get into it at always like typically through work, a scramble here, their boss plays, and it's a good way to connect with people,
yeah,
especially in the business world, right? You can say, oh, I play golf, and it's like this common connection, and it feels like you're almost in the in crowd if you mention playing golf in a corporate setting. So I don't know, man. From an amateur standpoint, that's why I'm embracing it and just saying, hey, this is the part that I really enjoy. There's no stress around it for me. Playing with the guys, playing with you, just it's fun. And,
right.
like you said, getting better each and every day, which is what we're going to kind of talk about. In the question, I don't know how many golfers we have in the chat, true golfers. Sometimes we get some casuals. This year, did you reach your golf goals? Did you hit the goals that you, wanted to achieve? And, did you, what are you working on going into the 2024 season? So we have Mike up here. So my wife and I had our first kid this year, so I only played 3 times, which is terrible. Next season, I want to get out at least 30 times. 30 times, as my kid will be in daycare, and I feel less guilty. I feel your pain, man. I mean, depending on your situation, I do remember when my daughter was born. My wife ended up, have we had the benefit at the time of her being able to stay at home, and so I got to still play golf. There wasn't as much pressure, and I felt like I was active, and it seems like you are as well, Mike. So commendable, but yeah, man, 3 times that's painful. Jesus Christ, I think I'd be crazy if I only got to play 3 times. Um, but it's something that, again, it's just that itch. And that's how I end up playing sometimes, figuring out ways around work, during the week to get out after work or, figure out how to
Yeah,
move stuff around in the morning and go play because you get that itch. So shout out to Mike. Hope you do get that dang 30 rounds in next year. That would be awesome. I mean, that's you playing, a
yeah,
couple times a month, and that's what it's all about, man. There's just it's nothing like getting out there, the camaraderie of golf. So for you,
absolutely.
Marcus, what is an accomplishment this year in your game that you're proud of, and something that you wish you had just done better.
Let's see. Something I wish I would have done better is just be more consistent, but also I felt like I wasn't sometimes I felt like I wasn't in the moment enough. Felt like I feel like just like we were talking about with the competitive nature, I feel like sometimes I'm chasing just like the ultimate euphoria. I want the ultimate greatness to happen every round. So, like, for instance, like, oh, I reached a green in two on a par five. I want that eagle. We have four par threes. I want that hole in one. I want to hit it to a foot. Like, I want to chip in. I'm sitting here thinking too much about the spectacular shot and not thinking about get the ball around consistently, make sure you're making solid contact and giving yourself a chance to score. That part of it, I felt like I did a horrible job of because I felt like I was so busy trying to just be like, and it had nothing to do. Like I can't even sit here and blame it on the pros because the pros have already been like, I don't aim at flags. I aim at the middle of the green. I be aiming for
Yeah,
15-foot putts, and I just gotta hope I make it. Otherwise, I'm playing
yeah.
even par golf because that's gonna get me through. That's gonna make me make most cuts. And my dumb ass is sitting here like, yo,
Chasing flags. Yeah,
hero shot. Yes, a 360-yard par four. Do I need to hit driver? No, but am I going to? Hell yes, because I love my wedges and I want to hit wedges. No, bro, hit that hybrid, put an 8 or a 9 iron in your hand, and go about your business. Sometimes I'm so stupid when it comes to things like that. Like, so that's one thing I need to work on going into 2024, not being as dramatic about that type of deal. And then
play
one
boring
thing I,
golf.
yeah,
Play boring golf.
exactly. Get off the tee, put it in play, give yourself a two putt, get up out of there. You know, scramble
Yeah,
when you need to. Always make sure the game is tight for that. And then if you so happen to chip in, cool. If you so happen to hit it close, cool. You know, there's some gonna be some gimme flags. There's gonna be times when you're feeling yourself, you know, but when you're not feeling yourself, you got to be able to slap it around. Like,
yeah.
but I felt like I also had my highest of highs. This was the first year I shot under par legitimately. I've shot, you know, as Rod and I have documented it a lot. I mean, like I've been chasing even par for so freaking long. Like the 75s, the 74s, the 73. Then finally in the same year, I go 72 even par, and then the very next month, I go 69 to go under par, shoot my career best. Just things like that just can happen once you get it on a roll. I didn't feel like I ever hit a bad shot, and I still had bogeys in that round. Like, and I still
Hmm.
miss putts to shoot 69. So, like, even in the same aspect where I shot my career best, I still felt like I left some strokes out there. And I'll never forget it. I had one of the dumbest bogeys possible just on a hole where normally it's I'm not saying it's a birdie hole, but like this is a hole where you kind of kick yourself if you bogey it. So like just
Yeah,
things like that. Like, you know, just so very excited going forward and like as far as like goals for the next year, I feel like consistency once again. Then I feel like I want to play more. Like, and I know I feel like I play a lot, and we talk about how much I try to play twice a week whenever the case arises and stuff like that. But you know, it doesn't always happen. You know, then you get into work, then you play once every 3 weeks for a couple of times, and then you just try to rush it in when you can. But that is my goal because, as I told you, physically, I'm trying to get back into shape. So like if I physically get back into shape, it'll be easier to play more rounds. I will have the energy and the want to play it and not feel like I'm always recovering or always battling injuries and the aches with the elbow, the pains with the shoulder and stuff. Just little things like that. Oh, my knee's
yeah, man.
swollen. because I've been pushing off of it too much. Like being in physical shape makes all of this stuff easier, makes the recovery
Yeah.
easier, makes everything about the swing easier. The I mean, like, so
Yeah.
we talk about this all the time, and I told you I'm slapping myself for it because I should have been doing this a long time. Like I should have been starting this, soon as post pandemic in it, and I just been slacking. But yeah, what
Yeah.
about you, Rod?
You
What
gotta.
what do you feel like you did good, and what do you feel like
Mine
you
are
need to work
pretty.
on?
Mine's pretty straightforward. So late last year in the off season, I said I was going to work on speed, and I did. And I got longer with the driver this year. And at one point, I think I had gotten it in my average drive into the 280s.
Yeah,
And so I was very proud of that. I mean, that was like a 20-yard difference for me. It was a couple things. It was a shaft change in my driver as well as speed training in the off season. Disappointed that I didn't keep up with the speed training throughout the year because I think it could have continued to help me. And I saw some changes in my scores. I saw some really good results earlier in the year, and even kind of more recently, but not as consistent as I would like to be. So speed training and gaining yardage was awesome for me. I've been striving for the last couple of years, feeling like I had been on the cusp of being able to break 80, shoot in the 70s, and I was able to do that this year and achieved it pretty early in the season, and had some really good strings of rounds going on where I had achieved that feat pretty quickly back and forth. And I thought, I reached it twice. I hit 79, then went 78, I think a couple weeks later. And the other rounds are in around that were around in the low 80s, and I was really proud of the golf I was playing. But then, like you said, you're always kind of chasing that and, trying to force birdies and opportunities versus just letting the game come to you. And, didn't achieve another one until later in the season. So probably a few weeks ago, had my, personal best of 77. So again, just
yeah,
really proud of that because I've been chasing that number, and just kind of missing out on some things. Again, the distance, the closer you play to the green, the better, right? The easier the game gets, where you're hitting more short irons and wedges. And I saw that come to fruition. So, very proud of that. Didn't have a round in the hundreds, all year, which, again, that's consistency. And really, I don't want to have any rounds in the 90s next year.
yeah,
And, clearly, not on, I think it's going to take a couple of years for me to really truly I don't know. I don't want to downgrade myself and expectations, but could I one day sneak up in the next year and shoot under par? Yeah, or even par? Yeah, absolutely. But I really just want to keep the game tight where no rounds in the 90s. A bad round is, high 80s, and really exceptional is mid 70s. That's where I want to keep my averages tight, and that's really what I'm going to be working on this coming year is definitely
yeah.
my iron game. That's been the weakest point of my game. It's it frustrates me when I hit some incredible iron shots and I'm like, dude, why can't? Where is that? You know, all the time. And so, again, I was talking to Marcus earlier about this tiger tip that I picked up on that's really been helpful, and I think I've hit some incredible iron shots these last few weeks after kind of putting that in play. Almost had my first hole in one, actually, the closest I've been to a hole in one, which was like a 2 inch tap in. Um, we were talking about that earlier as well. Just getting a hole in one would be a heck of an accomplishment. It's not something you shoot for, but I think with the irons and the way I've been striking them, here recently, that I can get there. And so that's going to be the biggest thing that I'm looking at is to get my greens and regulations up. When they look at all the ways that you can break, 70 and not break 70,
Yeah,
but break, 80 is hitting a certain amount of greens and regulations, getting on fairways, which driver comes and goes, but irons have always been the weakest part of my game, and I'm just really looking to shore that up and just have a solid go-to shot that I can rely on. So yeah, I mean I think my goals hopefully are pretty straightforward, and I'm more excited that to be able to focus on my game,
yeah,
this coming year, and just get the most out of it. So
yeah,
if you're watching this back later, in the replay, put your goals in the and I'll pin a comment as well. Put your goals. What are you working on? What are you proud of yourself for achieving this year, and what are you looking for in, to improve in your game? Is it just playing more? Is it, breaking a certain, 80, breaking 90, breaking 100?
Yeah.
Any of these are accomplishments. We're just battling against ourselves. This is a game where you don't control much. You can control some things, but you're playing against the course. You're playing against the conditions. So just interested to see what you guys are working on, and also hopefully maybe some things we can talk about and bring content around, as we not pivot fully to amateur golf, but just really looking at ways that we can help you guys out. And a small plug, one of our membership tiers, or the biggest one, is our Eagle member. It's not cheap. It's like $25 a month, but that gives you a personal swing, evaluation with Marcus here, our aspiring PGA professional. So if you're interested, we could definitely help you out and improve your game. So shout out to our Eagle membership tier. Um, so one thing in the amateur game that I think you sent this over to me is, other than your clubs, what's the most important thing or things that you have out there on the course? Thought that was an interesting question. I think we've talked about some variation of this, but not specifically in this way. I didn't really have one. What were you thinking on this in this way, man?
Feel like it's crazy, but like the things that I have like in my cart actually, they matter to me. Like that's one of the things that I'm slightly superstitious about. Like, and of course, as you know, how many Myrtle Beach coins I've bought throughout the years, Rod. So like I feel like that's one thing that I always need to have is a cool bar marker, something that when I'm looking down or putting down on the green, I have something cool to look at. Gives me something to strive for because I want to look as cool as that ball marker. And it sounds corny, but like ball marker, my divot tool, my tees, a nice golf ball because I'm very OCD about my golf ball. Any scuffs, it's got to be. I'm sorry, it's gone. Like I might hit it a few more times throughout the round. It might stay in the bag just as kind of like a dang, I need to get this. I just need to hit something. Like I need to hit a second shot. This doesn't matter. It doesn't count. If I lose it, I don't care. That might be its new job, but that's another thing. Uh, Marked up ball. I gotta have my number colored in, two toned. Just
I've
little
been
things
I,
like that.
I've been playing the scuff balls lately. I hadn't been letting it affect me like I used to, and I don't know. I've been finding decent. I'm like, unless I start shooting bad scores with it. It's first
Yeah.
sign of a bogey or a double bogey. I'm throwing that out, but I don't know.
Mm,
I've been letting that one ride here lately. But I
yeah.
feel you. I feel you.
I will say though, like it made me think about it once you started talking about it. Two things that put it in perspective that just I constantly feel like I need to remind myself of is Tiger Woods, one of the greatest quotes ever for golf, is it's not how good your good golf is, it's how good your bad golf is. How can you recover? How consistent are you gonna be when you don't have your best? Like what is that secondary? What is that yuck shot? Is that thin shot still getting away with it? Or is that slightly chunky shot still covering? Like those are the things that, we need to think about more that I personally just, fell absent of. And then another thing is just, of course, what we always talk about, the Instagram reels. There's an Instagram reel explaining handicaps. You hit your handicap at best 25% of the time in a 4 round span. At best. This is your greatest golf that you will ever play. That is why it is your
Yeah.
handicap. So when you go out there and you shoot 10 over your number, don't even let it affect you because those are the things that it's going to happen. You got to think about your handicap number. Your handicap number is your 10 best scores in a span of those times that you've played golf. Not your worst, not your even, not your median. These are an average of your best scores. So
Yeah.
that's why you put in all those high numbers. They're not going to affect it like you think it is. It's not even going to really chase your number up. You're not going to shoot from a 4 handicap all the way up to an 8 handicap just from putting in one score. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You consistently play these odd numbers aren't going to really affect your score. So all those sandbaggers and cheaters that don't put in all their individual scores, I'm looking at you right now, bud.
We
I'm looking
literally
at you.
yesterday we talked about that for like 30 minutes after a round yesterday. Just, a couple guys that aren't
Bro, I'm not
honest
gonna
on the
put that
scores.
93 in. I'm not gonna put that 93 in, bro. Like, why not?
Just let it ride. Let
Why
me
not?
pull
You're
this
not
up real
shooting a
quick. So
75 the next round, bro. Goofy.
So Mike asked, "How long did you take speed training to gain the 20 yards?" Like I said, it took me. I'm gonna post my comment here. It took me about 3 months. I would say I started in either November, October, and so by the time we got warm here in Texas, actually warm enough to play and see some decent temperatures in the 60s and 70s, and kind of mixed in February, I was already seeing the distance gains, and so um, it was, you know I did it a few times a week. It was a every other day regimen, and they I got one off of Amazon. I know there's a lot of expensive systems out here that you can purchase, bro. I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't take all that. I think the one that I bought was $40, and yeah, do some quick little shopping on Amazon. You can find a speed training shaft on the cheap, and you're gonna get results. And I use it to warm up before rounds, and I don't go through the full program anymore, but the grip that it came with was super cheap. I'm gonna have to change it out this year when I get back to training here in the next few weeks. But yeah, I mean, it was a super effective tool to get yardage without having to spend a lot of money. Again, don't spend. There's a crap ton of systems with all kinds of different weights and videos. It's just not that serious to get the results that you want. So, thanks for the question, Mike. Shout out to our mom. She said, great discussion tonight. And then from earlier, she said, hey guys, love mom. So, our number one member, our mom.
Always.
Um, yeah, so for me, I mean, I'm pretty low maintenance. I talked about it. Mine's weird. Outside of my clubs, the only thing that I really need on the course is some caffeine, and occasionally some ibuprofen to get it going.
This
So
guy.
I'm low maintenance, and I think I can figure out how to have a decent round out there with anybody. It's hard to meet an a-hole on the course. So whoever I'm playing with doesn't really bother me. I just kind of zone in, do my own thing. I do feel like I like to dress well. That's the one thing that I think when my outfit isn't on point, or if I'm wearing some, I have shirts that I'm like, I've never had a good round in this shirt. And I don't know if it's mental or what, but some shirts I'm just like, okay, I'm retiring that. So certain things, that are just kind of weird, play a part for me. I hate playing in the cold because I don't like stuff on my arms either. I know I have a ton of stuff that's fit for golf, but just having certain things on my arms is, I don't know. It doesn't
Yeah.
agree with me. So I always cannot wait for us to get a little bit warmer in late February, March here in Texas to be able to go back to the short sleeves. So, and I like
How
playing in the
long?
summer. Summer.
Yeah. How long have we been saying that we very rarely run into a bad playing partner when we get randomly paired up? I feel like that's something we've been saying since like 2013, right? Like for real.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
had,
And you
I
you
feel like
dread it because we like playing solo. We like we'll have our own competition going, but it's not
yeah.
ever really tragic.
We had a little issue over Thanksgiving last year. Not 2023, but 2022. We had a bit of a weirdo. That it's been a few years though since we've
Hold,
had something like that.
hold on, remind me.
Um,
Thanksgiving.
the course we played before, but we played the opposite course. Um, kept swinging the club in my backswing.
Okay. Okay, yeah. we had a weirdo. He was
What
dressed
course
to
was
the
that?
nines.
Because I
That
love that
was
course. Uh, uh, yeah,
Firewheel.
yeah, yeah. Firewheel. Yeah. So we played Firewheel 1 and 2 now. Yeah, love that course. Love both of them. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
pretty insane, man.
that was on I think the Lakes course, and no, the old, and
Yeah, that
dude
was
kept
the first.
swinging in the backswing, and I think he finally just Marcus asked him politely, "Hey man, can you stop swinging in the backswing?" And then he just took off on us and left the.
Yeah,
He literally left the course. So that was probably the weirdest experience we've ever had. Um, but yeah,
pretty
I mean
strange.
99.9%, good dudes and gals out on the golf course, including our most recent pair up. At Cedar Crest here in Dallas, we got matched up with a couple out of Orlando, and they
Yeah,
were really awesome and didn't talk a lot. I mean, it was very cordial. We talked to them when it was necessary, but we were all in our own little zone and kind of interacting with our playing partner, and that was
yeah.
it. So that's why I love golf. I mean,
Man,
it's a
played in
quality
four
thing.
hours too.
Oh
Crazy.
yeah, crazy. It was less than
They
four
were
hours
efficient.
actually.
Yeah, 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 they were
Yeah.
efficient.
And I think the last thing on my list for today before we dismiss and Cowboys update, they are up 7-0. So shout out to the Cowboys. Hold on tight. Is these
Okay.
Kirkland irons and their release. Kirkland's been slowly, getting themselves into the golf game, and they have a cult following. The golf balls were big a couple of years ago. I think
Garbage.
they were utilizing a old patent from the Pro V1,
Yep.
which with the golf ball rollback, probably still not compliant. So they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. Yeah, I could never get with those golf balls. They were a little too hard for me. Um, I tried a couple of them, just not my thing. People swear by their golf gloves though, and Kirkland gloves, but they've released some irons, and I think a driver will be coming out shortly as well. I'm gonna pull this up. So as you can tell, looks very familiar. Looks like a very popular club that's out there, including this tungsten the font is very reminiscent of something that we know. Here's the full set. It's a pitch and wedge through 4 iron sets. Pretty standard. Um, I don't know what they're calling this. If it's speed foam or something, but they have the foam insert like a lot of hollow body clubs these days. Clearly, their R&D is cheating off people's page. The Elevate shaft is a true temper shaft. Um, I know that PXG uses this Elevate shaft in their wedges, so it's kind of becoming popular. So it's not a trash shaft at all. Um, and here are the specs coming up for lofts. Pretty standard for today's clubs. 4 iron at 20 degrees, 7 at 31. I mean, these are your pretty standard lofted modern clubs of today. Um, what do you think, man? What do you think about Kirkland out here offering $500 iron sets and jumping in the kind of it's not a really direct to consumer, but what do you think, man?
20, 20 degree
Let me pull it
four
back up.
iron,
Yeah,
20 degree 4 iron, 23 degree 5, 27 on the six. They got a little different composition because a 20 degree 4 iron, that's pretty strong lofted.
yeah,
23, that's pretty strong lofted 4 or 5. 27, that's kind of reasonable. 31, 8, 35, and then 40, 40. Those are pretty strong lofted. Then a pitch wedge 45, that's normal. But like to
yeah.
me, it's definitely just like a playoff of the P790s. But I mean,
It is.
that's why they're selling them for cheap because they know if anything happens, they're not really in there that deep. They can just drop that off the market. Like, oh, it was something y'all did. Y'all patent that. You know what? You got it. We'll go
Well,
ahead.
I'm
We
sure
don't even
I'm
want
sure
that
they're
money.
making enough modifications or differences to get past whatever patents or whatever. But
You'd be
and
surprised.
apparently these damn things have already sold out on the initial offering. So
Of
Kirkland
course.
slash Costco is going to have to crank these bad boys out because I think if you're the casual golfer and let's say you're one of these entries that restarted playing golf in 2020 or 2021 and you're like, okay, I've been playing this box set, let me go get these upgraded modern looking irons,
Yeah,
upgrade
that's
my
true.
game. I mean, and it's a pretty standard package. The 115 shaft is a completely kind of homogenous. Most people could play that weight shaft.
Yeah.
What are you playing? 120 grams?
Yeah.
Same.
Yes. And
So it's a you have the option of getting it in stiff or regular flex. So like I said, I think it's a pretty inoffensive offering and just a way for kind of the middle of the road, the weekend golfer to upgrade their equipment, look a little bit better in the bag, and not for a crazy entry level price.
yeah.
I mean, I think irons have started to get super ridiculous. Any of your premium brands, you're looking at around 11, 1200 and up from there, right? And so if you can cut that cost in more than half and have some decent performance, that's to me that's pretty damn awesome. So I'm interested to see somebody do a review of these and put them on, a monitor and what the results look like. Are
Yeah.
you going to get some flyers or some inconsistent results because again it's Kirkland,
Facts.
but again people have touted their wedges as well, and I guess we'll see what the driver holds. At this point, I think drivers are pretty much maxed out. I mean, there's only so much you can do with the science of driver technology. Everything's pretty much where it's going to be from a COI standpoint. So
Yeah.
we'll see, man. All right, y'all. Anything else you want to cover before we hop off, my guy?
Uh, Not something that we can't put in the show notes and cover next week.
Sweet. We'll do it. We're already at an hour. Snuck out a whole hour again. So thank y'all for joining Bearder Bros Golf Show. We appreciate every single comment, like, and participation on our videos. We really are thankful for each and every person that decides to give us a few minutes of their time. So we'll catch you guys next week. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
Peace.